we'll get
Do we
rolling.
need to do this? Yeah.
Yeah.
You've arrived at the Texas to Tennessee podcast, your home for your favorite independent artists and a couple of guys you've never heard of.
Who?
It was Texas, it was Tennessee. It was what I had coming to me. You were unlike anything.
Well, we're at Minglewood Hall with Will Hoge, playing in town tonight.
Yes.
My second time to get to see you.
Oh, nice.
The first time was the weather-shortened Lucero block party,
which was ended up in this same room as I remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I think I was trying to remember. It's like 2018, 2019, something like that.
That sounds. I think it was 18 because we had done. Maybe it was early 19.
I couldn't remember.
Yeah, we had finished I had gone overseas and supported those guys, and we did a run through Europe and the UK, and yeah, they had asked me to come and do the picnic, and it was a torrential downpour. Yeah, we ended up playing, I think, one song solo acoustic inside. I think that was it. Yeah.
The one thing that I remember, well, there's a bunch of moments in there that was really cool, but you have all these people that's been there, outside part of the day, probably drinking a little and all that stuff. But everybody was so cool and understood and worked together. And then you had, at one point, Austin Lucas was standing on one of the tables singing a Journey song.
Yeah.
And then biggest thing, nobody was arguing or fighting, or you know what I mean. And in that situation, you just never know to have a few thousand people.
Yeah.
Be cool.
And, I mean, it's a testament to those guys. Those guys are so cool and have built a fan base of people that are there for the music. So it's not like you had derelicts running around.
No,
it's all people that you could have to your house for dinner, which is a good sign.
It is. It is. I know that I don't know the whole story, but I know you've had some history with Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you've done recordings and at Ardent and stuff like that, but is that the main thing that you've done, or some more highlights? Or
no, I mean, that was a big one. My first record, we made half of it here and half of it in Nashville. So I felt like getting to, have those two cities involved in the first record that I ever made was really special, and getting to come to Ardent was really magical. I mean, so many records that I'd grown up listening to, and the Memphis and Nashville connection. I would argue, pound for pound, that's probably the two most important and just heavy hitting musical cities on the planet. I mean, history, and then even currently, I mean, there's so much great work going on, and I think Memphis is really a special place with trying to continue to champion musicians and local artists. I'm always moved by what I see going on here in the art community in general. Yeah.
That's it's nice to hear. Memphis gets a bad rap.
No,
some of it's earned, but it gets a bad rap in some ways. But there's a lot, to be proud of.
Absolutely.
Currently and from the past. But
yeah.
And then, like you said, Ardent, and then you got guys like Matt Ross Spain.
Yeah.
And,
and that new facility they've built there, I mean, it's just incredible. There's a lot happening here.
And then the old school stuff with like Royal Studios and all of that. We were lucky to talk to Kenny Wayne Shepherd a few days ago, and he's done some recording here with Bobby Rush and different folks like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's nice to hear.
Yeah.
When you hear so many negative things. So, man, I've been a fan for a long time. I was, I try to remember kind of when you came on my radar, and that's hard to
Sure.
It's, you know, because life moves faster than you think than you
Right.
think it was. You'd be like, oh, that was 3 years ago, and it ends up being 13 years ago. But the first song that really I wanted to talk to you about anyway was "Trying to Be a Man." Is that a There's a lot of songs. There's a lot of songs where people um, come up with it in all these different ways.
Yeah.
And the turn on the end of that song, one, when I cover it, I don't play that. I can't.
You can't
I
go
just
there.
I change it, and everybody's okay in my
Sure.
version, right?
Sure. Yeah, that's much nicer.
But when writing that, I have to know how that came about.
Well, a lot of that was autobiographical. My wife and I, she was my girlfriend at the time. We got pregnant when she was still in college, and you know, there was so much fear around that, and people were in the family weren't particularly supportive. It really felt like it was sort of just us
Mm,
against the world. So that part of it is very autobiographical. The part where she dies in childbirth, thankfully for me, is not autobiographical. I did have a friend
yeah.
who a handful of years before, he and his wife had delivered their first kid and everything seemed fine. And within 20 or 30 minutes, she had medical issues and passed away. And
Mm,
um, so that part was borrowed from a tale that, you know, still far too many people have to deal with. But
no, yeah, no
yeah,
doubt about it.
it's not a happy song.
No, no, and the first time you hear it, you know, yeah, that's the curveball
Yeah.
that punches you in the gut, which
Yeah.
we all love those songs.
Yeah. Well, and
Uh,
it's got a cool Vince Gill guitar solo on it too, which is also pretty
I
cool.
did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay,
So that was nice.
that that's definitely something that,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't have expected that as far as with that song
Yeah.
with that story, and then Vince. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that
You
now.
check it out. Yeah,
Will.
he gets it done on that one. Yeah.
Yeah, he's okay.
He's not bad.
He's
Yeah.
he's supposed to be coming to town pretty soon too at the Orpheum down
Oh
here.
yeah. Was that with the Eagles or
No,
just
it's
him?
solo.
Okay.
I think it's I want to say it's solo acoustic. I'm not
Gotcha.
100% sure. Um, and then I have to ask about Good While It Lasted with Hayes Carl. I'm a
Yeah.
huge Hayes fan as well. Um, I love that you've worked with so many of these artists that
Hmm.
you know that I'm sure a lot of your fans are fans
I hope so.
of these
Yeah.
same people, right?
Yeah.
Um, how did you already have a relationship with Hayes before?
We were friendly. You know, you would see one another. I mean, that's the crazy thing about
Hmm.
this, you know, world that we inhabit. I mean, you meet people for 45 minutes or 2 hours at a time, and then, you know, you go off and then you link up again at a festival or a show, which is always fun, and you catch up again for 45 minutes or an
But you're more
hour.
passing in the night than you
Yeah.
are.
And it's more, you know, hey, I'm seeing Hayes Carl tomorrow night. Oh, okay, tell him that I said hey and blah 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 and that kind of thing. So it was good to get to sit and I mean he's such a great writer. I love his work. And then when we got to sit and write together, it was really fun. And that song I loved. I mean, we kind of came in, it was one of those days where I don't think either of us really had an idea and you just sort of start
Mm,
talking and working through it. I think originally I played the original recording is just I'm playing piano, he played acoustic guitar, and we got through it. And then he recorded a really great version on a record
mhm,
called Lovers and Leavers that Joe Henry, who's a great producer who I just played with for the first time last weekend, he did that record, and that record is great. And then when I had made Tenderhearted Boys, which was the first sort of solo record I had done, I always wanted to take a turn at that
mm,
song, and so just sort of did my own version of it. And yeah, it's one of my favorite things about working with other artists is, and it's happened a bit where, you know, Brendan Benson and I have written some things together, both of who have recorded. So it's nice to hear, you know, I love that Hayes's version is different than my version, and vice versa, obviously. And I think that's cool. It's one of my favorite things about writing a song with somebody is one thing. Interpreting a song, is something else. And so it's fun to get to sort of be in the room, construct it, and then step away and have them go and interpret it.
There was quite a bit of time in between that too.
Yeah, I think it was.
I don't remember how many years, but
I'm like,
a
maybe
while.
4 or 5 years, I think, at least. Yeah.
Probably 14 years.
Could have been 12 or 3. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as far as that scene, Hayes was one of the first ones to be on my radar. Memphis has a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
But that part is not really one of them. You know
Right.
what I mean? As far as the guys that roll through town, Memphis is a tough draw.
Right.
For a lot of folks.
Yeah.
Even we've had this conversation with BJ Barham before.
Yeah.
Bars they play here twice a year and still, just beating it to death, trying to get people to show up. But Hayes is another one of those guys that that I was glad to see roll through town. And it's like I said, I like seeing that y'all work together on songs like that, are able to take the time, because I don't know where he lives necessarily, but still, it's nice to hear. And another one of my favorites, we had this conversation before we started, Adam Hood, and I know you've written some songs with Adam.
Yeah.
And honestly, the first time it threw me for a loop a little bit when I started, when you released your latest album, and then what is it? Postcards and Payphones was on there.
Yeah.
And there's some words, I'm singing along, driving.
Yeah.
And then there's some lines that are
different.
and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I guess the same thing with that one. How did that relationship with Adam come about? I know he's a Nashville guy for a long time.
He's
as far
been
as
in and out of there,
circles.
a long time. We actually met years ago playing in bands. He was in a band in Alabama, and I was in a band from Nashville before we were doing solo stuff, and we would again cross paths. And then we just kept putting a couple of writers' rooms together, and it was always we share there's similarities in kind of where we write from, and kind of how we both sing, but also not the exact same. So it was a really nice, some people you get together with and you work to build it. And Adam and I were we don't see one another often, but every time we get together to write, it ends up being something, either he cuts or I cut, or we both cut. Yeah. And they're always cool songs. I mean, that's Postcards and Payphones is one of those too. I mean, I really thought his version was cool. And then when we were making Sweet Misery, I just, I'll go back occasionally and revisit things that I hadn't thought about. And that song came up, and I changed a few lyrics, and it's more of a rock band presentation than his version. But, it's fun to get to do that.
When did you start, from what I could tell anyway, you've got a handful of albums that you've produced and done a lot of it in-house yourself. When did you start with that?
I did my first self-production for an album called Number 7.
Okay, that was
so that was, I don't even know, I guess that was 2000, maybe 2006 or 7, somewhere in there.
So and that's the one that you had the Vince Gill solo on,
Yeah,
and all of that.
Yeah. So self-production. I mean, the first one, I don't spend a lot of time going back and listening to those records, but when I do hear songs from it, I was definitely not ready to self-produce at that point. It's good, but I mean, there's a ton of things that I would do this very differently now.
But you'll probably say that about
I'd say it a lot less about stuff now. I mean, it is, you know, there's nothing bad, but it is truly one of those. And I can just think back of, you know, how you run a session and just things like that. And also, self-production is very different than production. I could have easily produced somebody else's record at that point, but to produce yourself, like, you have to be willing to really put yourself under the microscope and you know, kill your own babies, which is not the easiest thing to do. And I've gotten better at that.
As far as that goes, like, I can only imagine what it's like to hear some of your earlier stuff. And are you somebody that do you nitpick it apart when you hear it, or do you remember? Is it more of like a taking you back to that time period, maybe who you were working with, or you know what?
It's more
what comes to mind
it's
when you
more
hear
the
those
latter.
things?
I don't nitpick stuff very often, and I mean, there's very few things. You know, there's a couple of things over the course of 16 records or whatever that there's a couple of things that I go like, okay, that's something I would have done differently, or I don't like the way we did that. I did that. But that's, I mean, it's less than a handful, which is pretty good.
When you hear them, you think more back about
yeah, I mean, like, if I think back to the
thing.
first record, you know, and it's fun, even like, you know, coming into these cities, like driving in today and going past Ardent and really thinking like, man, you know, because in some ways you're out here and you're busy all the time, and you know, thinking back to that record, it's like, well, that was, you know, okay, but then you go, fuck, that was almost 30 years ago. Like, there's a lot of things that have changed in my life, not to mention just in the city and the world. But yeah, it involves much more of that sort of fond memories. Like, I remember distinctly, you know, when I come in here, I think about that record and the songs and what we had done in Nashville, and then coming down here and sleeping 4 guys in one hotel room and walking, you know, the couple of blocks to Ardent and seeing Jody Stevens and talking and just feeling like all of my little redneck rock and roll dreams were completely being realized, you know. And then you take the roller coaster and there's a part of you that goes, oh, you know, it's easy to sort of look back and go, oh, well, this didn't work out. This failed. This did that. It didn't do what I thought it would do. But, you know, when I think back to that, I try to put myself back in the mentality of that kid that was like, if you had told him that in 30 years you'd still be doing this and still making records, even at the level that I am, you know, he would have cut a pinky toe off to get that in writing, you know. So
yeah, there's no doubt
try to keep that in mind.
Yeah, but it's natural to the grind can be like you said, a roller coaster of ups and downs and highs and lows, and you always want the next thing to be the biggest thing that you've done. You're never shooting lower than the past. So I'm sure it can be you know, have all these different wide range of emotions. But then I would imagine when you go to a room like tonight and, you know, folks are going to come out and sing along with your songs.
I hope so. Yeah.
I imagine that doesn't get old though. You know what I mean? It's just got to be, like you said, you could even nitpick that apart as far as, oh, there wasn't as many as whatever, but in the end, you're able to make a living doing what you wanted to do.
And that's real special. I mean, and it's fun, you know, you get to see it. I've got boys that are 18 and 15 back home, and my oldest is playing in bands and, you know, doing all this for the first time, and watching the innocence of high school kids writing their own songs and playing shows for the first time, and just the utter excitement. And there's an innocence to it that I lost decades ago, 20 plus years ago. But there's a love for it that I've never lost, has never waned. And it's a good reminder watching them, because you really do get reminded, you know, it's easy And I've seen it at higher levels when we'll go out and do a, some arena tour with some big band, and, they're selling 6,000 tickets a night or whatever it is. And, you still see some of them that are still upset because somebody was selling 12,000 tickets a night. And somebody that's selling 12,000 tickets a night is pissed because they're not selling 22,000 tickets a night. And when that happened for the first time years ago, I really tried to just remove myself from that thought pattern because, there can always be more.
Because you realized that you had done it before, or just
I had probably done it before years ago,
right.
But I really just consciously didn't want to. When we flirted with commercial country success years ago, there was a part because I thought that was what the next step for me was, and it worked on lots of levels. I mean, we played bigger shows, we were playing for more people, we were making more money. And I was miserable. I mean, it was a lot of people I didn't want to play music for, and ways I didn't want to play music, places I didn't want to play music. And, that's that sort of devil's bargain where you go, okay, well, here's the thing you wanted. Do you want it or not? Because then you've either got to stay there and fight to maintain this thing that fucking sucks. Or the other option, which was what I did, was like, cool, I just pull back and don't do that anymore. I'm just going to say no to the things I don't want to do. And that's been way more productive for me as an artist.
Are you pretty much in-house at this point, or have you,
as far as
owning your own
yeah, we've been doing that for years.
I figured, yeah, but
that changed, decades back.
Really?
Even when we did the major label thing, and then once we left there, we pretty much went back to at least owning. I've owned my own masters for years, since the third or fourth record.
Really? I know that's where a lot of it falls apart for a lot of
it
people.
can, for sure.
But then you got guys like, again, BJ, that pounds the drum for that, even teaching people how to.
Yeah, and he's really great at it. And we were fortunate. Like I owned the masters for Carousel, so even the first record, it was really just the major label record that we didn't own the masters on. And when we wanted to press that on vinyl for the first time, the masters had gotten lost in a fire in California. And so we just went in and re-recorded the whole record, and now we own the masters. So it works out fun.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things I wanted to ask you. I know the Eli Young cut, right? Even back then, and maybe even currently, did people find your music through that song? Have you ever heard anybody actually, tell you that?
Yeah. I think there were some, for sure. I think the bigger thing that we really noticed through that was, when I first started making records in the late 90s, there were a ton of people in rock radio that were starting to maybe hear my records or play my records. And then there got to be this point where I could never really, get it over the hump, sort of at the big time radio thing. But then a lot of those radio people moved to country radio because, they just changed formats.
Right.
When that song had success, it was really interesting to me how many of the country radio programmers and DJs had come from the rock world. So we got a whole lot of people like, man, it was so great to finally get to play your song on the radio, even though it's not you singing the song. And that was sort of what led to the Small Town Dreams record and that record, and having a song like Middle of America that, makes it to top 40 country radio was, as an independent artist, is pretty unheard of. But so, yeah, I think we saw more of that than we did. Like, I don't know that there were a ton of like people that were going to an Eli Young band show and then going, oh,
okay,
I want to go see Will Hoge now.
Well, and
not for nothing. I love those guys.
Yeah,
they're the best.
And they're kind of more less in the big machine part of it these days.
Yeah.
Too. So
yeah, I mean they've continued making records and are now doing it much more independently and on their own. And I would imagine if you talk to them, they would say they're better for it too.
Understand. One thing that I'm sure you've maybe heard people tell you this before, but a lot of your songs, make you think in a political way, or just just a way of thinking.
Yeah.
That where I might lean right, but then the way you present your opinion, it makes you. I enjoy it anyway.
Good.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I can. It's like a mutual understanding, even if we had never met.
Right.
Like say, like Still a Southern Man, I can completely see all of that. You know what I mean? Where I live, an hour north of Memphis, I've seen all those things.
Oh, yeah.
And so I appreciate the way you present your. You're not yelling at someone your opinion, but the way you present them in songs and things like that. I really enjoy that.
Thanks.
Even like I said, even if I'm coming from it from the other direction, I wish there was more of that these days.
Yeah, well,
not just in music, just
I agree.
period.
I mean, and I think that if we can have those conversations, I'm not saying I don't have any of them, and there are certain songs that are pointed and this I don't like.
Right.
But I try to make those songs more of, this is my story, this is how I feel. I think even that conversation is very different than, two guys sit down and it's like, hey, let me tell you what you do that's stupid. And I hate this thing that you think.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, there are some things that you need to say that about. Don't get me wrong. But, for the most part, I think when people sit and listen to one another and you go, if I start telling you what I like and what I think and what, that's an inviting conversation. Yeah, you're going to have some shit that you probably go like, oh yeah, I like that too. And, if we can start there, or I'm afraid of that too, whatever it is. Yeah, I think those are easier conversations to have and
I think
better songs to sing.
You and BJ do a really good job
thanks.
both of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you can clearly tell how you feel and what you're thinking in the song, but it's not, the way it's presented, like you said, it is more inviting and more, and you.
Yeah. Well, there's only like 8 of us with Southern accents that do progressive politics, so we got to all stick together.
What, you and BJ,
Isbell, maybe 3.
I got in trouble the other day.
Margot Price. So, I mean, I can come up with 8 if I have to, but it'll take some work.
I got in trouble the other day by somebody at a show. It's like, it's not Isbell,
no,
it's Isbell.
That's like,
right. I was
very particular.
So I'm not sure how Jason feels about it, but his fans were straightening me out about it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll do a couple rapid fires and get you out of here. One, what's coming down the road? Before we get to that, what's on the way for you?
I'm finishing
on the road
I've got a couple of. We got some shows throughout the year. The band is going to go back to Europe at the end of the year. I've started doing a lot more studio production back home. So I've got a record for a really great artist, a guy named Scott Terry. He's a singer in a band called Red Wanting Blue. We're finishing his record. It's an artist from Brazil that's coming up to do a record. There's a cool artist from Boston named Molly O'Leary. I'm getting ready to do their record. So there's some of that, and then there'll be some other. I'm taking my son's band called Darling. We're going in the studio to make their first recordings. So I got that coming, and then touring, doing the thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good deal. Sounds like you're getting to do what you want to do.
I am. I'm not complaining.
Good. All right. If you were to start a podcast, who's somebody? Who are you grabbing? Not for rating wise or views, but just because you want to pick their brain. Who are you grabbing?
Oh man, what's the podcast about? Do we have to know that? I think that
musical.
It's a music podcast.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then I am going to pick. Man, that's a hard question. Who is somebody? Music podcast? Oh, I would pick Ray Kennedy, who is this great engineer and producer back home, and just depth of musical studio knowledge and recording knowledge, and has made really great records with Steve Earle for years and Lucinda Williams. He's one of my favorite music people, and we would talk for hours and hours about great rock and roll
stories from music related and not.
Yeah. He would be the guy I'd start with. Yeah.
Good. That's good. All right. I want to say in my crack research department said that you originally went to college to be a history teacher.
That's right.
If you were to have a dinner with any historical figure, who would it be, and what are you eating?
It's just one person, one historical figure is.
I guess you can have,
we'll do just one. It's
we
just
can have
me
a gathering,
No, it's me.
whatever.
It's me and Martin Luther King Jr. And he can pick the restaurant. He ain't been here in a while, so we'll let him pick.
I got you. All right. Let's see. Let me do one more. Maybe usually a lot of people I get to ask this question are very new at this game.
Okay.
So, but I'm curious what you would say. Bucket list venue that you haven't played.
That I haven't played, Red Rocks.
Okay.
I mean, it's a real fortunate thing. Like most of those places that you grow up and go like, fuck, I'd love to play there. I've gotten to do, I think all of them.
Play the
Ryman like to the point that it feels natural, and that's my favorite venue. I mean, if there was only one that I was ever gonna play.
I was just over there saw Shane Smith and the Saints.
How was that?
Perfect fit.
Yeah, it's just a really
special. Their vibe for the room, the whole thing. The boot stomp on the floor might have been a little too much for the old gal, but she held up fine.
She can do it.
Doing good.
Yeah, no, that's my favorite. But Red Rocks would be one that I have not gotten to do that I would love to.
It's a pretty popular answer. I think it.
Yeah,
it seems nice.
But I'm also not gonna go unless I play there. That's one that somebody's like, you should just go to a show. I'm like, I'm not going to a show there. I'm either gonna play there, or I'm never gonna go there. That's how it's gonna work.
Well, come on, somebody.
Yeah. Come on,
you got friends.
Rocks.
Come on.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is the final question, and
it
is the most important question. All right.
Okay.
Started on episode 1 as a joke.
Okay.
Now we're required to. Everybody wants to know what your favorite Little Debbie snack is.
Little Debbie snack. I mean,
we have to say snack now because I think they ventured into ice cream and all.
Yeah, no, but I think I know what you mean. The old long box. It's got to be a long box Little Debbie. I don't know if this is off the beaten path. Mine is seasonal. It is the Christmas tree cake.
No, it's really popular.
I feel like that's a good one. And it's a little like.
It's because it's got the Christmas cheer.
Well, and it's also like In-N-Out Burger. Now they're building In-N-Out Burgers everywhere, and the shit's not as good. It was fun when you would go to California, and you would get an In-N-Out Burger. Like, I think if they made the Christmas tree cake all the time, I don't feel as special about it. But in that little window there, the Christmas tree.
When they add the Christmas spirit in August when they make them.
And if I've got to go something that's year round, I'm going straight up Little Debbie oatmeal cream pie.
Okay.
If I've got to go,
all year.
12 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, man. I appreciate the time.
Man. Thank you.
Good to meet you. And cut or whatever.
All of that.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.